Before you turn off the video, let me tell you something a little embarrassing. I used to have this one hallway closet that I dreaded opening. It was crammed with old linens, holiday decorations, and boxes I hadn't touched in years. Every time I went looking for something simple, like a flashlight, I'd end up pulling half the closet out and feeling frustrated. And honestly, it made me feel weighed down, like the mess was somehow proof I couldn't keep up anymore. If you've ever had that same pit-in-your-stomach feeling, you're not alone, and what I'm about to share will lift a huge weight off your shoulders. Stick with me, because the last little trick I'll explain is the one that keeps the clutter from ever sneaking back. Professional organizers might not want me saying this, but there are 4 secrets they rarely share. And here's why. Once you know them, you won't keep needing their services. You won't be buying endless plastic tubs or alphabetized labels. You'll be able to make clear, confident choices on your own. And that kind of freedom? Well, it feels better than any container system you've ever tried. Where are you watching from? I always love knowing if we're sharing these ideas from the same town or halfway across the world. And while you're here, if this already sounds like something useful, tap that little subscribe button. It helps more women like us find the simple ways to finally feel at peace in their homes. Here's the big twist most people don't realize. Clutter isn't about storage space at all. It's about your future self. That's the first secret, and it completely changed the way I looked at every drawer and shelf. Most of us ask, have I used this in the past? But that keeps us stuck. It ties us to years we've already lived instead of the life we're heading into. The better question, the one that unlocks real clarity, is, does this fit the person I want to be in the next 10 years? That one question saved me from holding on to a dozen cake pans I was never going to use again. Because let's be honest, I don't bake for 20 anymore, and I don't really want to. And here's the part most people miss. You have to know who that future self actually is. So grab a notebook and jot down a paragraph about the life you want. Maybe you picture peaceful mornings with a cup of coffee and less chaos on the counters. Or maybe you want space for hobbies like painting, sewing, or gardening. Maybe it's room to host your friends for dinner without shoving clutter into the spare room. Whatever it is, use that vision like a filter. Hold an object in your hand and ask, does this belong in that life? If it doesn't, thank it and let it go. Now, I'll tell you the common trap. We keep things out of guilt. We say, but I paid good money for this. Or, I might need it someday. I've said those exact words while clutching an ugly sweater that never left the hanger. But guilt doesn't create the future you want. It just weighs you down. And when you shift the focus from guilt to your future self, it feels like someone opened a window in a stuffy room. You can finally breathe. And just so you know, you don't have to tackle the hardest spots first. Start with something easy like expired pantry food or a drawer of old receipts. Quick wins give you the energy to keep going. And if you ever doubt whether progress is happening, take a before and after photo. Trust me, seeing that difference will give you the push to move on to the next corner of the house. But here's a little hook for you. Letting go of things for yourself is one thing, but what about all the stuff you're saving for the kids? That's where the second secret comes in, and it's one that clears not just your closets, but your conscience too. The second secret is what I like to call the legacy timeline. And let me tell you, this one hits home for a lot of us. For years, I saved boxes of china, extra furniture, even an entire collection of knickknacks thinking, well, the kids might want these one day. But then one afternoon, I casually asked my daughter which pieces she actually wanted. Do you know what she said? Maybe that old recipe card from Grandma, but honestly, Mom, not much else. And it was like someone shook me awake. I realized I was storing mountains of stuff for people who didn't even want it. Here's where the legacy timeline changes everything. Instead of boxing things up for later, you enjoy them now. Use the nice dishes for dinner, hang the family photos on the wall, set out the handmade quilt where you can see it every day. That way, the meaning isn't locked in a closet, it's part of your daily life. And then, for the items you don't really need to keep physically, digitize them. Scan the letters, snap pictures of the recipes, record the stories behind them. They take up no space, but still hold the memory. And then comes my favorite part. Host a little legacy lunch. Invite your kids, your grandkids, your friends, and put things out on the table. Let them pick what matters to them. You'd be surprised at the treasures they choose and the things they pass on without a blink. And here's the piece most people never think about. Sometimes nobody wants the thing at all. And that's not rejection. It just means the story mattered more than the object. So write down the memory, tuck it into a small booklet, and release the item itself. You'll feel lighter, and the story still lives on. That's the real gift. Now, let's slide into the third secret, because this is the one that helps when your heart says, "But I can't possibly throw this away." It's called the emotional anchoring system. I used to have an entire box of my dad's tools, even though I don't fix much of anything. The truth? I was holding on because I thought getting rid of the tools meant losing him, but then I chose just one hammer, one single piece that carried his memory for me. I put it on a shelf in my laundry room where I see it all the time, and suddenly, instead of drowning in a box of rusting tools, I had one item that carried all the weight of that memory. That's the beauty of emotional anchors. You don't need 30 items to honor a person or a time in your life. Just one chosen piece can carry the whole story, and it doesn't even have to stay exactly as it is. Old t-shirts can become a quilt. Photos can turn into a framed collage. A stack of greeting cards can be scanned and bound into a small book. It's about transforming the memory into something you can live with and enjoy, instead of letting it fill your closets and attic. Here's the part most people miss. You can even share this process. Give a loved one their own anchor piece. Maybe your daughter takes grandma's brooch, your grandson gets grandpa's pocket knife. Each person has one special object instead of everyone being weighed down by boxes of things nobody really wants. That's how you honor a legacy without passing on a burden. And if you've ever wondered whether keeping less means forgetting more, trust me, it doesn't. In fact, it often sharpens the memory. When I see that hammer of my dad's, I remember him teaching me how to hang a picture. When my daughter flips through her little album of grandma's handwritten recipes, she remembers baking cookies with her. The stories stay alive. The clutter doesn't. Do you already do something like this? Or is this idea brand new to you? Now I want to pause for just a second. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and hit that like or subscribe button so this kind of simple homemaking advice keeps coming your way. It really does help keep our little community growing. But before we move on, let me ask you this. What happens if you work so hard to declutter, only to have more stuff pile back in the door? That's the part nobody warns you about, and it's exactly where the fourth secret comes in. So here's the fourth secret, and honestly, it's the one that saves more time than all the others combined. It's called threshold mastery, because let's face it, even if you clear out every closet in the house, the clutter will come right back unless you stop it at the door. That's the part no one tells you. Decluttering isn't just about getting rid of what's already here, it's about guarding what comes in next. Now this part gets a little eye-opening. Every one of us has a certain clutter type. Some of us are emotional gatherers. We hold on to things because they remind us of people or events. Others are just-in-case savers, like keeping 6 extra extension cords, because what if one breaks during a snowstorm? Then there are the sentimental keepers, the ones with boxes of birthday cards, and the past-living collectors who save things that made sense 10 or 20 years ago, but don't really fit today's life. Once you know your clutter type, it's like turning on a light. You finally see the pattern of what sneaks in. Here's the trick most people never use. Before letting something through the door, ask yourself 3 little questions. 1. Does this actually serve me in my life right now? 2. If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? Space, money, or peace of mind? And 3. Am I keeping this because I need it or because I'd feel guilty if I let it go? When you pause for even 10 seconds to run through those questions, you'll be amazed how many must-haves suddenly look like clutter in disguise. And for those impulse buys, you know the ones, the late-night TV gadgets or the cute throw pillow you spot at the store, set up what I call a 48-hour waiting shelf. It's just a small spot near the entrance of your home. Instead of unpacking that bag the second you come in, put the new item there and let it sit for 2 days. 9 times out of 10, you'll walk by it and realize you don't even want it. It's like giving the item a little time out before it claims permanent space in your house. And I have to tell you this part because it set me free. When it comes to gifts, you can release the item without rejecting the person. That sweater your aunt gave you that never fit? Thank her for the thought, enjoy the kindness, and let the sweater go. The love came with the giving, not the object. That one shift makes it so much easier to breathe. Now, if all this sounds like a lot, here's a comforting thought. You don't have to be perfect. Even 1 or 2 small rules at your threshold will stop a flood of new clutter. You can even make it playful. I know a woman who calls her pause shelf the probation zone. If something passes the test, it earns its spot. If not, into the donation box it goes. And speaking of donation boxes, that's another tiny trick that's worth gold. Keep one in your home at all times. The second it's full, drop it off. Don't second guess, don't fish things back out. That box is your little train station. Clutter checks in and then it moves on. Here's the part most people overlook. Prevention makes decluttering feel lighter because you're not undoing your progress every week. Imagine tidying a drawer and knowing it'll stay tidy because nothing new is sneaking its way in. That's when your home starts to feel calm and steady, instead of like a never-ending battle. And if you're wondering how to keep momentum going, there are 2 quick habits that really stick. One is the 1-minute rule. If putting something away takes less than a minute, just do it right then. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't think, you just do it. The other is snapping those before and after photos. It sounds silly, but trust me, when you see how much lighter your countertop looks, you'll be hooked. So think about it. Decluttering isn't only about today. It's about making sure tomorrow doesn't undo everything you worked for. And once you master the threshold, you'll notice the difference in how your home feels every single day. But here's the part I really want you to hear. Decluttering isn't about perfection, and it isn't about empty white rooms. It's about making your home reflect the life you actually want now. And in the last part, I'll share how to tie everything together so it feels less like a chore and more like a gift you're giving yourself. When you pull all these pieces together, it stops being about tidying up and starts being about living lighter. First, you shift your mindset with the future self method. Then you free yourself from the burden of storing things for the kids. Then you protect your heart with emotional anchors. And finally, you guard the door so clutter can't sneak back in. That's the whole circle. Mindset, letting go, honoring memories, and preventing the pile-ups. And once you've done it, even just a little, you'll feel the difference in your bones. Now here's what I love most about these secrets. They're not about making your house look like a magazine. They're about making your home work for you. Imagine walking into your kitchen and seeing only the things you actually use, instead of a jumble of gadgets you bought 10 years ago. Imagine opening a drawer and finding scissors on the first try. Imagine having your favorite chair free of laundry so you can actually sit and read a book in it. That's the kind of peace we're aiming for. Not perfection, just breathing room. And you don't have to wait for a big decluttering day. In fact, the smallest steps are the ones that stick. Write down that little paragraph about your future self. Put out a donation box in the hallway. Host a simple lunch and let family pick what matters to them. Even starting with a single anchor object, a photo frame, a quilt, a hammer, will shift the way you see everything else. You'll find yourself thinking, if one item can hold a memory, why am I keeping 20? And that thought alone lightens the load. Here's something I've noticed. When you clear out clutter, you're not just making space in your home, you're making space in your head. You sleep better because you're not mentally keeping track of piles. You feel less guilty because you're no longer tripping over things you meant to deal with. And you even save money because you stop buying duplicates of things you already own but couldn't find. It's amazing how quickly your energy shifts when your surroundings match the life you want. And remember, none of this has to be all or nothing. You can keep the things that truly serve you, that make your heart warm when you see them. You can laugh at the guilt chair and decide it's time that seat holds a person again, not a mountain of sweaters. You can let yourself enjoy the fine china on a random Wednesday night instead of saving it for a dinner party that may never happen. Life is too short not to use and love what you have. So here's my gentle nudge. Try one step today, just one. Maybe it's writing your future self vision. Maybe it's scanning an old letter. Maybe it's moving something into your donation box. Don't wait until you have time or feel ready. That first small action opens the door to the rest. And the wonderful part? Every little piece of clutter you let go of gives you back a piece of freedom. If you've been nodding along, take this as your sign. Your home doesn't need to be a storage unit for the past. It can be a place that reflects who you are now and who you're becoming. Decluttering isn't about losing, it's about keeping what matters most. And once you feel that freedom, trust me, you won't want to go back.